Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Here's a crisp deep dive on what scientists mean by plant communication, what's well supported, what's debated, and what it's not. Bottom line. Plants do exchange information, mostly as chemicals, electrical signals, and via fungal partners. It's real, measurable, and often adaptive. But it isn't language or thought, and some popular claims, like far-reaching mother tree resource sharing, are under active debate. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. 1. Airborne chemicals, VOCs. When attacked, many plants release volatile organic compounds that prime neighbors to boost defenses, for example, anti-herbivore chemicals, tougher leaves. Field and lab work on sagebrush and crops has repeatedly shown this eavesdropping. 2. Electrical signals inside plants' leaves, stems, and vasculature propagate rapid bioelectric spikes, action potentials and slower wave potentials, after wounding, heat, cold, or herbivory. These signals coordinate whole plant responses, for example, defensive chemistry, stomatal changes. Think wires, not nerves. 3. Underground fungal networks, CMNs. Mycorrhizal fungi connect roots, potentially moving carbon, nitrogen, water, and warning cues between plants. Evidence that CMNs can influence seedling survival and signaling exists, but sweeping narratives about altruistic mother trees are contested. Several reviews argue the popular story outran the data. Expect nuance rather than a binary yes/no. 4. Sounds. Plants under drought or injury emit ultrasonic clicks linked to xylem cavitation. Whether other plants use these airborne sounds as cues is still unresolved. It's an intriguing frontier, not consensus. On a breezy summer afternoon in a meadow, a sagebrush plant senses trouble. An insect's mandibles pierce its leaves, and in response, the plant releases a cloud of invisible chemicals into the air. These volatile organic compounds drift toward neighboring plants, silent warning signals that danger is near. In response, the neighbors quietly fortify their defenses, producing bitter compounds and thickening their leaves before the insects even arrive. This isn't fiction. Experiments have shown that such airborne chemical whispers can measurably reduce damage in wild and cultivated plants. Beneath the soil, another kind of conversation is happening, one that moves at the pace of roots and fungi. In a forest, mycorrhizal fungi weave dense underground networks, linking the roots of trees and understory plants. Through these fungal cables, molecules can move from one plant to another, nitrogen here, carbon there, sometimes even chemical signals that may warn of stress. Some scientists have painted this as a benevolent wood wide web, where ancient mother trees nourish seedlings and share resources. Others urge caution, noting that competition and self-interest are just as common as cooperation, and that not every transfer is proof of altruism. In the wild, plant relationships are as complex and as messy as any human community. Inside individual plants, information moves in yet another way, through pulses of electricity. When a caterpillar bites into a leaf, the damaged tissue sends a rapid electrical signal, akin to a plant nerve impulse racing through its stems and veins. Within seconds, far-off leaves begin producing defensive chemicals, primed for a battle they have yet to see. These impulses are not thoughts or feelings, but they are fast, coordinated, and essential for survival. And then there's a stranger frontier still: sound. Researchers have found that some plants emit tiny ultrasonic clicks when stressed by drought or injury, likely from bubbles bursting in their water-conducting tissue. The noises are far above human hearing, but sensitive microphones can pick them up meters away. Whether other plants listen to these signals is a question still lingering in the air, like the scent of sagebrush on that summer afternoon. If we define communication simply as sending and receiving information that changes behavior, then plants pass the test. They speak in chemicals, electricity, and physical cues, rather than words or gestures. They don't have brains, yet they shape their lives through constant exchanges with the living world around them. The forest is not silent, it hums, pulses, and exhales stories in a language we are only just beginning to understand. In a high desert valley, the morning air is still cool when the first grasshoppers arrive. They land softly on the green stems of sagebrush, mandibles already twitching. As they chew into the tender leaves, the plant doesn't fight back with claws or teeth, it fights with chemistry. Within minutes, invisible plumes of volatile organic compounds drift into the air. To our eyes, nothing changes, but nearby plants are listening. The airborne molecules bind to receptors in their leaves, triggering genetic switches that will soon flood their tissues with bitter-tasting chemicals and toughen cell walls. The grasshoppers won't know what hit them, but the warning came not from luck, it came from a neighbor's distress call. Beneath our feet, another kind of conversation hums through the soil. Microscopic fungal threads, thinner than a human hair, stretch from one root tip to another, connecting not just plant to plant, but species to species. Through these networks, called mycorrhizal connections, water and nutrients can pass from tree to sapling, from shrub to wildflower. In some cases, stressed plants appear to send chemical alerts through these fungal highways, giving others time to adjust before drought or pest attack arrives. Some scientists have likened this to an underground internet, even suggesting the existence of mother trees that nurture their kin. But in nature, generosity is rarely unconditional. Other researchers have found cases where plants use these same networks to outcompete neighbors, drawing resources toward themselves. The truth, it seems, is a tangled mix of cooperation and rivalry, just like any human society. Inside the plant's own body, the messaging system is faster than most people realize. Electrical impulses, similar in principle to those in animal nerves, race through vascular tissues in response to injury or sudden heat. These bioelectric spikes can reach leaves far from the initial wound in seconds, instructing them to activate chemical defenses. Alongside these signals, hydraulic changes, the sudden movement of water pressure, add a second layer of information, ensuring the entire organism responds as one. For centuries, people thought plants were passive backdrops to life, silent, rooted, and reactive rather than proactive. But the more we study them, the more they appear to be participants in their ecosystems, exchanging cues and shaping one another's survival. They do not talk like humans or think like animals, yet they share information in ways that can be mapped, measured, and sometimes even predicted. In the quiet of a meadow or the shadowed hush of a forest, an unending conversation is underway, spoken in scents, signals, and subterranean threads.